When we introduce the challenges of big websites, we've mentioned that we want to give our clients the ability to go beyond just editing content on pages or adding CMS pages. We want to allow them to build their own custom pages using components. So in this video, we'll be building the component library so that in the next video, we'll show you how to create page templates that allow clients to build custom pages using these components. So let's get started. On the Figma file, we do have a page here that is component library. And you can see that we basically have these building blocks that allow clients to build their own or mix them up in a way that allows them to create unique article pages like these. So let's start. And the first one is actually, we'll start with this hero section. That's actually pretty straightforward. So I'm heading into the pages and I'm just opening up one of the static cultural pages because these pages currently use these elements. So we can turn the elements right here to components. So let's go and find the hero one, which is this one, right? Section global, that is the hero section. And I can just click this button here to create a component out of this. We can call this article hero. And basically right now we have a component and that's great. Now the next thing we want to do is to create all of the different properties. Also, I should probably, once we're on it, also give this the color scheme that we're using. In this one, I think it's going to be color scheme 1. Fantastic. Okay, so now we want to make this component editable, which means the clients will be able to replace the image, the article author, and then all of these texts. So for this image, let's see that we have selected the image. Fantastic. From the settings panel, let's turn that into a property and we'll call this, let's call this hero image main. Fantastic. I'm not going to select an image right now because it doesn't matter. This is a placeholder image and this image works well for me. We'll select this one and add a new property. For this one, we'll call article author image. Fantastic. And I'm going to do the same for these texts. So I can either do it from here or I can do this from here, whatever is faster. So let's call this article title or heading. And then let's call this article subheading. Okay. Not a very consistent naming, but whatever. Okay. So this basically means we have the first component. And we can see right now that article hero is a component. And you can see here from the properties that we can go ahead, change the images and change the articles. By the way, when we are starting to build components library like this, we can see them from here and we might want to organize them in a folder or something like this. We can actually go here, article, edit settings, and then we might want to add this into a group. So let's call this article page, because all of these components are going to be inside of an article page. So we're going to group them all together and we'll be able to find them from here. So we've got the first component and that was pretty easy. The second component that I want to do is a little bit more tricky, right? It's this article, right? But sometimes I want the image to be on the left side. Sometimes I want the image to be on the right side. So we need component variants. And actually when I'm going here, I can see that sometimes I have a variant that is not only left, right. I also have a background color variant, right? Sometimes the background becomes a little bit darker. So I can choose whether I want left, right, and also background light or dark. So let's see how we're going to do that. Let's go back here and find this here. This is actually the second section that we have here. So the second section, we can go ahead and turn that into, let's call this article with image. And then I'm going to also add it to the group article page and then go ahead and create it. Now, we'll start by giving this the color scheme that we need. So that is color scheme 1. Let's add color scheme 1. Fantastic. Let's also add the properties. So for this image, let's call this article image. And this one here is actually, let's see what we have here. So this is actually, I don't want to have a heading and a rich text. I just want to have a single rich text because rich text itself can have this, for example, a heading, right? So basically the client will be able to set up the actual headings inside of the rich text. Okay, so what we have here is, let's take the rich text and add the rich text as a property. Let's call this article content. Create. And by the way, we haven't touched rich text a lot, but basically rich text is a field that can include all the different H1, H2 text paragraph, can also include images. So it's a really, really powerful element to use if you want something that you're not really sure how much text and what kind of text you will have here, like an article, which basically makes this the perfect use case in here, because we're not really sure if this is just 2 paragraphs or as we have here, for example, maybe we have lots and lots of paragraphs here and maybe some other content in the middle. Okay, so we've basically created the properties. Now let's think about the variants. The first variant that we have is left-right. We already dealt with a very similar situation in the first module. So we already know how to do this. Basically, we want to have a flex that we can turn to the other direction on the variant. And very similar to the use case that we had in the first module, we have a grid here originally. So let's turn this from a grid to a flex so we can change its direction. And we'll also have to force this because now this is not a grid, but a flex. We'll have to force this to whatever we want the image to be. So let's set this to maybe 40% and make sure that it doesn't grow or shrink. So it forces it into 40%. Okay, so now we've got a flex, although it still has the image, the icon of a grid. This is actually a flex, which means that if we create a variant right now, and let's create a new variant, and let's call the other one image on right, and then we'll rename the base to image on left. So image on right, when we have the variant of image on right, we're going to change the direction to right to left. Fantastic. So now image is on the right. Let's go ahead and rename this variant image on left. Okay, fantastic. So we've got this component. It's got its properties. It's got this variant of image on left, right. We have to add another variant to give the background color. Now, I don't want to create the variant on this color scheme 1 and change that because that is a class that we're reusing all over the place. So what I will do is I'll just create a div, like an absolute div that's going to be in the background and change its visibility based on the variant. So let's see how we're going to do that. First of all, make sure that this whole section is relative so that we can put something absolute inside. And let's add a div and call that article background. Let's call this article background. And let's select for the background color the secondary background. Let's see if that's what we're looking for. And turn this into absolute all over. Okay. We also need this to be probably 0 or -1. No, actually, let's use this as 1. And then we'll put all of this container large here, or global motifs and their meaning. We'll turn this into relative 2. So it's on top. Okay, so we've got this background color. I'm not sure if if this is a primary, then this is secondary. Okay, great. Okay, so I think this is the darker background. And now let's go to settings and let's set the visibility to a property. So let's call this darker background. And now users will be able to toggle between visible and non-visible of this div. Let's go out and try this. Hidden, visible, hidden, visible. That is really great. Now you can see that we can create, or we can reuse this component. Let's copy and paste it. So we have 2 of them, one after another, and the client will be able to set this to a background, change this from left and right, and edit the text. So this is really a versatile component for us to use. Really nice. Okay, so this component is done. The next component I want to do also has something interesting in it, and that's this one. This is the component that has these features. Now, currently it has 3 features within it, but I think it would be actually very interesting if we can make even that customizable so that the clients can decide whether they want to put 2 items there or 3 items there, or maybe even 4 items there. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to turn this little card here into a component, and we're going to place this component inside of the larger component. And we're going to use component slots so that the client will be able to add as many of the card components as they want. Let's see how we're going to do that. So let's see where we have this component use, maybe in this page. All right, fantastic. Here is this. So here's this section in use. Let's go ahead and turn this section. Let's call this article features. Make sure that it's in the same group here, and we're going to create that. I'm going to also add the color scheme here. Color scheme 1. Fantastic. Okay. So let's pick one of these cards first, and let's turn that into a component, and let's call this article feature card item. And we can also put this in the article page because it's part of that. This is now a component, and of course we can go ahead and connect all of these or create properties. This is going to be card image. Fantastic. This is going to be card title. Card title. And this is going to be card text. I'm going to do that from here. Card text. Okay, so let's see what we have. So now what we have is a component inside of a component. So this is a nested component. However, right now we just have one component here, and we actually want the clients to add as many cards as they want. So what I'm going to do now that we have actually this component inside, I'm actually going to delete all of them. And instead of this grid that we have here, I'm going to add a new element that we haven't seen before, which is slot, which basically means this is a space where you can throw in whatever components you want. So I'm going to bring it in here, and I actually want to give it the same class that we have here. So that the styling is going to be the same. So I'm just going to copy that and paste that in here. And yeah, so now you can see that we have a slot, which is different than this grid, and we can actually go ahead and delete this grid. Now, if I go out of the component right now, what will happen is I'll be able to open up my component library, go into the component card, and actually put in, and you can actually see it right here, I can put this component inside of this slot. And now I have one article here, and I can actually go ahead and copy and paste that. So now I have 2 of them, 3 of them, and I can put how many components I want inside of that component. So now you see I have this article features instance. And by the way, we'll probably want to, of course, create properties out of all of these so that we'll be able to, of course, edit these as well. But besides being able to edit the title here, you can already see here in the properties that we've got 6 elements inside, and each of them, when I click it, I can go ahead and edit it right here from I get access to all of the component properties from here. Now, at this stage, I can add as many as I want, and I can decide that maybe I like it this way in this design where it's basically 3-column grid. But actually what I want is I want to turn this, let's find this color palette here, this slot. I actually want to turn this into a flex, because flex is going to try to put them all in one row. And let's see how that looks like if I go out. Now, this is a little bit too tight, right? And I will recommend my clients not to put that many components inside, but you can see that for 4, it actually looks good. 3 looks good. 2 looks good. 1 looks, I'm not sure 1. So I would actually recommend my client, and I would put this as probably as a description to this component here, right? To this article features. I'm going to do edit settings, and I would probably here insert, I would write something like insert 2 to 4 card components inside slot, to basically tell them what I think is a good use of this component. And now we've created either 2, 3, or 4 columns for this component. So this is an even more modular example of a component that can be used depending on how many features you want to add. All right, so I feel like at this point we've got a nice component library. We've got a few more of them here, but they're actually pretty straightforward to put and connect. So you should already be able to do that on your own. So in the next video, we're going to see how to create a page that has component slots in it, and the client can build their own pages. So I'll see you in the next video.